You're paying for Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max. That's about $70 a month just for streaming services. You're doing everything right, supporting the industry, paying for content legally, being a good citizen of the internet. Last week, however, you desperately wanted to watch that one show everyone's talking about, but you couldn't find it on any of your 4 subscriptions. So you know what you did? You opened a new tab and found it on a piracy site in about 30 seconds. You're not alone in this. In 2024, piracy websites received 216 billion visits. That's a 66% increase from just 4 years ago. Piracy is certainly growing, not shrinking. And most of those pirates are people just like you, people who are already paying for streaming services, honest people who've been pushed to a breaking point. How in the world did we go from streaming supposedly killing piracy to piracy roaring back stronger than ever? Remember 2015? Netflix was $8 a month. You could watch Friends, The Office, Breaking Bad, tons of movies, all in one place. No ads, no hassle. You could share your password with your college roommate, and Netflix wouldn't bat an eye. They literally tweeted that love is sharing a password. And you know what happened? Piracy nearly died. No, not because the government cracked down harder or because people suddenly became more ethical. Piracy died because Netflix was just better. It was easier than torrenting, safer, higher quality, and cheap enough that paying felt obvious. There's this brilliant quote from Gabe Newell, the guy who created Steam. Back in 2011, he said, "Piracy is almost always a service problem, not a price problem. If you give people a better option than piracy, they'll choose it every time." And he was right. From 2010 to 2019, piracy dropped to historic lows. The problem was solved. Streaming had won. Everyone was happy. Then every entertainment company in the world looked at Netflix's success and thought, why are we giving them our content when we could make our own Netflix? Disney pulled everything and launched Disney Plus. NBC yanked The Office and created Peacock. Warner Brothers made HBO Max. CBS launched Paramount Plus. Apple jumped in. Everyone wanted a piece of the pie. All of a sudden, instead of one service with everything for $8, you needed 8 services with pieces of everything for $100. Streaming had accidentally recreated cable, the thing it was supposed to replace, the thing everyone hated. When people perceive pricing as unfair, their willingness to pirate shoots up. Think about Netflix's password sharing flip. In 2017, they tweeted, "Love is sharing a password." That was their brand, the chill, user-friendly service that got it. But in 2023, a complete 180. They started charging $8 a month if you wanted to share with someone outside your household. Now sure, from a business perspective, password sharing was cutting into revenue. But from a psychological perspective, this felt like betrayal. You can't encourage something, build your brand on being cool about it, then suddenly call it stealing. People don't forget that. And it's not just Netflix. Disney Plus launched at $7 in 2019. 6 years later, they're at $19 for ad-free. That's a 171% increase. Amazon Prime Video just added ads to a service that used to be ad-free. Didn't lower the price, just made it worse and charged you $3 extra to fix it. And every service did this throughout 2024 while simultaneously reporting record profits in their earnings calls. When consumers see companies making billions in profit while raising prices and cutting content, 2 things happen in their brains. First, reactance. That's your brain's rebellion response. When you feel controlled or exploited, you actively want to do the opposite of what they want. So streaming services feel like they're gouging you, your brain says, I'm finding another way, and I'm going to feel good about it. Second, moral licensing. Your brain gives you permission to do something you'd normally consider wrong because you feel you've earned it. If you're already paying $60 a month for 3 services, you're thinking, I'm supporting the industry plenty. Pirating this one show that's on a 4th service I refuse to buy is totally justified. Research itself shows that willingness to pirate is directly linked to feeling overcharged. When people think prices are unfair, guilt is non-existent. And here's the stat that proves it. 67% of millennials think streaming piracy is legal. Not morally okay, literally legal. And 93% feel no guilt when they pirate. Again, that's not because millennials lack morals. It's because the fairness contract got broken so badly that an entire generation stopped viewing piracy as a wrong act. 76% of Gen Z has pirated content, 67% of millennials. These aren't fringe numbers. These are the people who are supposed to be the future customer base for streaming services, and they're pirating at rates that would have been unthinkable to their parents. It's not just that young people pirate more, they just have a completely different moral framework around it. Baby boomers and Gen X see piracy as theft. You're stealing from creators. It's wrong, period. But Gen Z and millennials grew up in a totally different world. They came of age when Napster existed, when LimeWire was normal, when torrenting was just how you got stuff. Their entire relationship with digital content formed in an environment where sharing was default and ownership was fuzzy. A German teenager was interviewed about her piracy habits. She said her parents taught her how to find safe pirating sites so she wouldn't get viruses on the family computer. Her parents, who presumably knew piracy was illegal, decided it was more important to teach her to do it safely than to tell her not to do it at all. And she said she doesn't feel guilty because she supports content in other ways and doesn't see how paying Apple supports actual artists. Millennials are the Napster generation. They were teenagers when music piracy was everywhere. That shaped everything. They view digital content as inherently portable and accessible. 70% of millennials who pirate also pay for legal streaming services. They've created a hybrid model where contributing something to the industry justifies selectively pirating what they don't want to pay for. Gen Z takes it further. Only 24% would definitely pay for their own subscription if they couldn't share someone else's password. That's the lowest of any generation. And 79% share passwords, the highest rate. They view sharing as normal. When Netflix cracked down, Gen Z didn't think, oh, we were breaking rules. They thought Netflix made the rules worse. In 2024, every major streaming service raised prices, not some of them, all of them. Netflix raised prices in January 2025. Standard went from $15.49 to $17.99. Premium hit $25 a month. If you remember that Netflix Premium was $12 in 2015, that's a 108% increase in less than a decade, more than double. Disney Plus has raised prices 3 years in a row. They're at $19 now for Premium. They launched in 2019 at $7. That's a 171% increase in 6 years. Apple TV Plus went from $7 at launch to $13. Paramount Plus jumped from $6 to $8 for their basic tier, a 33% increase. And mind you, these aren't struggling startups. These are entertainment giants: Disney, Apple, Amazon. But you know what makes people really angry? While prices go up, the services are simultaneously getting worse. Multiple services have been canceling original shows after one season, even popular ones, because they don't want to pay for later seasons. And most services are pushing people toward cheaper ad-supported tiers by making the ad-free versions unaffordable. Over half of all new streaming subscriptions in 2024 were for ad-supported tiers. Obviously not because people want ads, but because they can't afford $18 to $25 a month per service for ad-free. The experience got worse, while the price went up. These are massively profitable corporations, and they keep raising prices anyway. From a business perspective, maximizing profits. From a consumer perspective, pure greed. When profitable companies raise prices aggressively, people stop feeling guilty about finding alternatives. We've actually already solved this exact problem. The music industry figured it out. In the 2000s, music piracy was destroying everything. Napster, LimeWire, BitTorrent, everyone was downloading music illegally. CD sales collapsed. Artists couldn't make money. Labels were panicking. It was a legitimate crisis. Then Spotify launched in the US in 2011, and they made a big move. They created one service with basically all music in one place. They made it affordable, $11 a month, and they haven't raised that price one bit. It's been $11 since 2011. 14 years of the same price. They made it more convenient than piracy. Better sound quality, no virus risk, easy discovery of new music. They made the legal option better than the illegal option. And it worked. Music piracy has dropped 18% just in the last year. Spotify has over 600 million users. The music industry isn't talking about piracy anymore. They solved it by actually giving people what they wanted at a price they were willing to pay for over a decade without changes. Video streaming had this exact same moment. Netflix from 2010 to 2019 was the Spotify of TV and movies. One service, huge library, affordable price, better than piracy. Piracy dropped to historic lows. The problem was solved. People chose the legal option overwhelmingly because it was actually better. But instead of learning from that success, every entertainment company decided they wanted their own Netflix. They fragmented the market, they raised prices, they added ads, they turned the solution back into the problem. And they're doing it while making record profits. They want more, and consumers can feel that. They can feel the difference between a company charging what they need to survive and a company charging whatever they can get away with. That breaks the psychological contract that keeps people paying. So, why are people turning back to piracy in 2025? Is it because they became less ethical? Or perhaps because they're cheap or entitled? Or could it be because streaming services destroyed consumer loyalty and removed guilt? When you ask pirates why they pirate, 75% say they'd use legal services if they were cheaper. 3/4 of pirates are not opposed to paying. They're opposed to paying what's currently being charged. When streaming was convenient, comprehensive, and affordable from 2010 to 2019, piracy nearly died. Consumers chose legal options overwhelmingly. Now that streaming is inconvenient, fragmented, and expensive, piracy is back with a vengeance. And until streaming services figure out that you can't charge cable prices for a fragmented experience and expect loyalty, piracy will keep growing. People didn't naturally turn to piracy, they were pushed to piracy. And when you make the legal option worse than the illegal one, you can't be surprised when people choose the one that doesn't make them feel like suckers. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more business wizardry, smash that like and subscribe button.